So why am I gonna like reciprocate someone trying me online? Like that's corny. So I just don't. I just don't deal with that. And luckily, man, I feel very lucky that I really don't get too much. At least I don't see it. I don't see as much hate. I know it's out there, but I don't. It doesn't really come across to me that much. And for that, I appreciate it. And I just don't deal with it if it does come across.
Cool. Yeah. And how did, because I don't know if this is true, but it feels like you're all up in the mix when you're, in terms of doing all of this, what you all are doing.
Hmm.
How do you navigate these waters, bro? Because they get the music, right? The music industry is a shark, shark. It's
Yeah.
predatory. It's crazy. It's off the hook. It's how many followers connect to this. There's, oh
Yeah.
God, it can get cynical. How do you make, like, if you, any game for the youngsters coming up that want to kind of DJ, produce? Because in my sense, producing is where it's at, bro. Because you get the whole thing. You can do anything in producing. You can DJ, you can
Right.
rap, you can do everything, and you can connect everybody. And that's what I do. I try to connect people.
I would say just be realistic about your goals and then set goals and try to be as self-sufficient as possible. Like don't be like, A, don't blame why if I had this and if I had that, I could do A, B, and C. Like, nah, especially not now with the technology. Like you could do everything on your own if you really, really want to. So, if you have homies and you can create a team, cool. Create that team. Make sure you trust these people, and just have set your goals and don't stop. Like just be consistent. Like some people think you got to come in hard and fast, but nah, like if it's gonna wear you out or you're gonna burn out quick, then don't do it that way. Like set some goals, long-term goals, short-term goals, and organize yourself and do campaigns and say, well, if I'm a producer, I want to make sure I get with, I'm gonna do 5 placements in 6 months, and it's going to be, three of them are going to be local cats that I know is going to be kind of easy to do, but I'm going to make sure that the most talented local cats, and two, I'm going to make sure it's something bigger, and I'm going to be consistent and persistent until I get to that goal. And nowadays, bro, you can communicate with almost anybody, but it's all about being, like I've always talked about this thing called polite persistence. Like you could keep hitting people up as long as you polite about it, like the way you come across respectful, and until that person shuts you down, like says, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And they're gonna be respectful, hopefully, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, sorry, I can't help you, or they block you or something, then keep at it. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's in person, whether it's online or whatever. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Just be respectful. And if they don't respond to it, don't take it personal, because later on you might come across that person too. Like some people will burn the bridge, like, oh well, fuck you then, homie. You don't want to talk to me? Oh, you think you too? Nah, man, that ain't the business, And I learned a lot of that stuff too from Pitbull, dealing with Pitbull, who's the younger dude to me, who I was putting on mixtapes when I was, the mixtape guy, and he was the young guy trying to come up. But I learned from him because a lot of people didn't believe in him and his come up. And instead of him taking it personal, and then, because he was relentless, but when he finally blew, like really blew, instead of taking it personal, all these people that he knew kind of didn't believe in him, he actually came back and doubled down on being even extra like nice to them and giving them more. If they were radio cats, more drops, more freestyles for them. And you think that those people turn to the biggest Pitbull fans in the world after that, so that's I mean, I don't know, it's a lot of stuff to take in. I don't know if any of all that together makes sense, but it's just, to me, polite persistence and consistence, man. Be consistent. A lot of people just give up, or they're not consistent, and they do something today, wait 4 months, do something 4 months, and then they're like, why isn't this working?
Yeah.
Nah, man, you got to be consistent.
Yeah, bro. I mean, Rome wasn't built overnight, and like even
Right.
if you think about like Rogan, the biggest podcaster in the world, it took him, and he wasn't like necessarily trying to get here, but maybe he was, but it took him 10 years to get that $100 million deal,
Absolutely.
at least. And cool thing about him is he first started it in his house, like I'm starting, and now we have offices, and I'm gonna start kind of mixing up, doing some in person stuff. But even like you were saying, people were telling me, hey, do all that. I was like, no, no, let me just see if this is even something first. Let's
Right.
just relax, because I have people that I want to start producing me now, and I'm like, let me just do this trap thing in the house for a little bit, like Joe Rogan did, and keep it authentic. And if it grows, if people start feeling, then I'll go with it, and I'll go hard too. But I don't want to like force something down people's throats. Like I'm
Right.
like that. Even with the interview, he's like, oh, you can do it. Like, I was like, yeah, man, it's cool, bro. Like, I don't trip, man. It's an honor for me. I mean, I can wait as long as I need to. You know what I mean? If you need to stand in
Yeah.
line for a little longer, then like who are you to not stand in line? You know what I mean? It's like that's why I basically try to carry myself like I did in the streets, you know, very like respectful. If something
Right.
backs off, we gotta figure it out. But if not, I always start with so much respect, so then I don't really get any of the negativity that much, you know?
And the thing about carrying yourself that way, it makes it very easy to like to because what happens is if you all over the place and then there's blurry lines when it comes to respect. You know, when you carry yourself a certain way and someone doesn't, you know, they disrespect you, it's just like you already know, like this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like not no blurry line, like maybe they didn't understand, maybe this, then that. You know what I'm saying? Like I hate, like to me, it's like I like everything to be crystal clear. I like transparency because I don't want no one, you know, trying to be confused by my intentions. And that way, if something goes wrong, you know, either I screwed up or they screwed up. Somebody screwed up, but it wasn't a miscommunication. It was very clear. And then you can handle it accordingly at that point because it was very clear.
Oh yeah, bro. And then like even if something goes wrong, like like somebody else will speak for me, like, oh, Pocho don't get down like that. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like they'll
Right.
speak for you. You don't even got to speak for yourself, you know.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
that's when you know you're really starting to, because I used to have like a little bit of anger and ego and all this when I was a little bit younger, and I've let go a lot of that through
All
life.
of it.
Life will humble you, you know.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
In the last little bit, because I'm really about being respectful of time. One thing I just wanted to touch on are just any feelings you have about Cuba or Venezuela or what's going on in those countries.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, obviously I'm Cuban, of Cuban heritage, and this hits home for me. And I mean, I just when it comes to Cuba specifically, I'm excited, but you know, I'm watching carefully. I got people on the island and I'm communicating with artists, as a matter of fact, and they're telling me that people are getting plugged out of their, you know, pulled out of their houses, and even the artists that are talking to me like, you know, I might get pulled out of the house anytime now. And I'm just, but it's exciting because it's the first time in modern history since the revolution that the Cuban people have risen up all at once on their own with no influence necessarily to you know against the government and for their freedom. So as a Cuban, that's exciting, and I feel like we need to do what we can as Cuban Americans. Um, but I mean, at the same time, I want it to be their movement. I don't think it should be a political thing on the U.S. side. It shouldn't be Democrats, Republicans. It shouldn't be, you know, us. Let's go over there and no, let's support them, but let's just make sure. Like my whole thing is like, let's make sure as a internet that we bring awareness to the international community and protect the Cuban people because they're unarmed. What people don't understand is that this island is completely unarmed. It's not like a couple other movements where the population has guns or access to them. This island was disarmed when Castro came into power, so they're completely unarmed and unable to defend themselves. So if the government cracks down, it's going to be, you know, and they are cracking down, it could get really ugly. So that's all I want is for the international community to keep the Cuban people safe while they try to get their freedom. And the same thing with Venezuela, man. Venezuela's it's a different monster altogether. You know, they are armed over there. There's all kinds of different factions. But again, when it comes to understanding the socialism and communism and everything that comes with it, you know, you just want freedom for everybody. And this goes across the board, man. Like I tell my Cuban people here, like, let's not be hypocrites, man. Let's want freedom for everybody. Let's want freedom from oppression. Let's want liberty for everybody. You know, whether it's in Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, whether it's people crossing the border in Mexico to the United States, whether it's people in the hood in Minneapolis, you know, suffering at police brutality, wherever the fuck it is. Let's not be hypocrites to that shit. Let's want the same for everybody across the board.
Yeah, man. If we're not all free, nobody's free. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely, man. And you know,
communism, socialism, capitalism. I remember at a time I was really into socialism, all these different things, but I've learned now in the older I get not to be a conservative, or they say you get more conservative the older you get, but more
yeah.
to just be open minded. Like
Open-minded, yeah.
there's good things about capitalism, there's good things about social, good things about communism, but when man gets involved, it can get different, right? So it's like stop,
Right.
you know, it's not about in all these terms and red or blue or this or that. It's about humanity, bro, and that these people deserve to have self-determination. You know what I mean?
Right, and just have your own fucking mind, you know,
Exactly,
like
bro.
I hate when people just go to one side of the political spectrum and then that's it. Like, yeah, like you said, like, bro, I could be conservative on some things, I could be liberal on other things. You know what I'm saying? I could understand the romanticism with socialism because hey, look, we have social security, we have socialism in the United States too. People don't really get that, but you know, at the end of the day, when it comes to like diehard socialist, communist type governments, it doesn't work in for humans. You know, like we
Yeah,
have ambitions, we want to do things in life,
yeah,
and
we're
really those things,
competitive. We're
yeah,
competitive, you know,
those
like
things become dictatorships, and the people that claim that that's what they're doing in their country, the government is all, they got money, their families got, are well off, while the people are starving. And
You can
so,
look at China, you know what I mean? That's it.
right, right.
All right, we're in the last couple of minutes, man. I also became a father in the last couple of years. And
Dope. Congrats, man.
thank you and congrats. I was around when I had a girl, and you just had a boy, a girl and boy now.
My daughter's 3, my son is 1.
Nice, bro. So one thing about me is my parents kind of we had a bunch of kids, but they started kind of later in life. I grew up in where homies were having kids at 15, 16 years old, but I
Right.
never wanted that in my life. My father told me, son, have your own life. Like he's like, I didn't start, he had 5 kids. He's like, I didn't start having kids till I was 35 because I wanted a full life. I was selfish, but I also wanted to give you something. And if I was 19, I had nothing to give you. So how is fatherhood, on this side of the age that we kind of are?
Right.
And I personally, I love it because I have more. I don't drink anymore. That's why it's funny that I love drink champs. I don't drink, but I smoke. But like,
Right.
I'm very focused on her, bro, and I'm really appreciating it. How is fatherhood kind of? Because you know how Nori was like, I didn't even know if you could have kids. He's joking with you because literally I watched every show, bro. So so how does it feel to kind of start? How's fatherhood for you, bro?
Well, I waited purposefully,
Oh,
like
okay. Yeah,
same as you. My homies were having kids at young ages. My god kids are 24 and 23 years old. And I knew I was ambitious and what I wanted to do. I wasn't gonna, having kids wouldn't have been right. And because I wanted to be a father, I wanted to really, take care of my children. I was like, "Oh, it ain't the right time." When I was younger, and mentally, I wasn't in the right mental space. So, fast forward, I have my kids now, and it's changed everything, man. It's changed the game. Like, imagine I started Drink Champs with, not being a father, and halfway in, I'm a father all of a sudden. So for me, fatherhood is everything to me, man. It like I said, it changed everything. My life isn't my life anymore. It's my children's life. It's all about making their lives better. Like, everything I do is revolved around legacy, around making sure that they have a better life than I had, and they have at least more opportunity to do whatever they want versus, the things that I had to go through or whatever. And that's what it's always about, man.